What's going on, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest, TGIF. It is Friday. We got some things to go over. There have been some articles released about our New York Knicks, but first, before we do any of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Trying to build a community here of Knicks fans here at Knicks Latest. Definitely want a positive vibe. Definitely want real fans who are rooting for the team, not afraid to critique the team. A difference of opinions. We all have our opinions, and that's fine. But let's get to discussion. Let's get to debate. It is an offseason that is leading to the most anticipated New York Knicks season since the 90s, in my opinion. I feel like the Knicks are legitimate championship contenders, and we want to build a community here at Knicks Latest. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let's get right into the show. Article came out in Yahoo Sports saying that the Knicks should sign Markelle Fultz, who has not been signed yet, a former number one pick by the Philadelphia 76ers. He's somebody who he's had an interesting career path. I mean, he was hurt immediately, was immediately labeled a bust because of his injury, changed his shooting form, did not play particularly well or consistent for the 76ers, ended up going to Orlando where he kind of resurrected his career. When he was healthy, he was putting up decent numbers. The problem was he wasn't always healthy. This is somebody who, I said on my last episode talking about getting a point guard doesn't really make too much sense to me right now for that vet minimum spot. You have Deuce McBride, you have Jordan Clarkson in the backcourt leading the bench, and then on top of that, you have Tyler Kolek. Somebody in the comment section on my last video said something about, if Jalen Brunson goes down, God forbid, you're going to need somebody to handle the basketball. And I think the person who made that comment makes a really good point, and I agree with that point. I think I have faith in Tyler Kolek, though, and I think that's maybe where we might differ a little bit. I know a lot of fans might have been down on Tyler based off of his first two Summer League performance games, but I'm somebody who believes in Tyler. I think he's the most natural point guard on the roster. He is a true point guard. He's somebody who creates for others. He's somebody who looks for others. And I do think if Jalen were to go down, we can see Tyler. Obviously, he's not going to step up and beat Jalen Brunson. It's going to be by committee, right? Deuce is going to handle the rock. Clarkson's going to handle the rock. We're going to see it by committee, but he's somebody who I think can get 10, 15, 20 minutes a game and do a serviceable job. Now, if you want to tell me that Markelle Fultz can be that person, I'm not going to argue with you. I would rather have him over somebody like a Ben Simmons, who that commenter was talking about, just for the simple fact that Markelle, even though he's not a threat from three necessarily, he is a threat to score the basketball, and he is somebody who does have a mid-range. So teams are not going to necessarily drop back on him as much as they normally would to a Ben Simmons. My concern with the Ben Simmons is more like, hey, teams are really going to drop back, and you can't stagger Ben Simmons and Josh Hart minutes. It's not going to happen, which means you're going to have to play them together at some point, and them on the court at the same time would be a disaster. You could convince me that maybe Fultz and Hart together won't be as big as of a disaster, but the truth is that Fultz isn't necessarily a reliable three-point threat. Teams could still kind of sag off of him, and for that reason, I still would rather go with Kolek, somebody who's been here, somebody who is a playmaker who can pass the rock, struggles defensively a little bit, but I do think in the grand scheme of things, the way he can stretch out an offense, you have to respect the three, you have to respect his playmaking ability, and with Josh Hart on the floor and the way the teams play Josh Hart, Kolek's going to be running with Josh Hart in that second unit, or Josh Hart, or whoever is on the court. I think it's best that we have somebody who is respected, who can spread the floor, and who can make plays for others. So I vote Tyler Kolek as that option. I could understand why Knicks fans may or may not want that. But Markelle Fultz is somebody who Yahoo Sports, there's an article right now, you can go check it out. Yahoo Sports thinks that the Knicks should go after it. I wouldn't be mad at it. It's not something that, I'd be jumping for joy. Like I said, I would prefer Kolek in those type of situations, but it's not something that I think it's a bad thing. If we added Markelle Fultz right now, cool. I'm with it. Let's go. Another one I feel that way about, Alec Burks. According to Sports Illustrated, the Knicks could be reuniting with Alec Burks, which I find exciting. This is the type of player who I would prefer. This is the prototype that I think the Knicks should be spending the vet minimum on. Somebody who can shoot the basketball, play some defense. Alec is not what he used to be. He's not the Alec Burks that we had his first go around here when the Knicks made the playoffs with Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau in the first round and against the Atlanta Hawks. He's not that same player you can just give the ball to and he can get a bucket. He can at times, but he's older now. He's just a different player, but he's somebody in an emergency situation. If I think the Knicks were forced to do so. He can play 10, 15, 20 minutes a game. He can shoot the three, and he can play respectable defense. He can also bring up the ball. We remember Tom Thibodeau was obsessed with having him at point guard for a little bit. So that's another option there if things go south with Jalen Brunson. I would like this. This is something I would like. I've always said this whole offseason that this last vet minimum contract, this is not going to somebody who's necessarily going to be in the rotation, but somebody who, if they were thrown into the fire, you would want and who would make sense with the roster. And I think Alec Burks would make sense with this roster. He's somebody who can shoot the basketball. I think the Knicks need to shoot more threes this year. I think Mike Brown's going to be doing that. So I think he's somebody who fits that game plan as well. He's familiar with the Guardian. He's familiar with the franchise. He's comfortable in New York. The last time he was here, he had a good playoff run filling in when the Knicks got hurt and injured, and he had to play against the Pacers. So he's somebody who's not afraid of the moment, who likes the city. The city loves him. I would not be mad with Alec coming back to the New York Knicks for another year or two, or whatever it would be, and, being that emergency 2 or 3. If things go south, there's injuries, if we're resting people, bring in Alec. Let's see what happens. I'm down for it. One of my favorite Knicks in the past decade or so, for sure. So, Sports Illustrated, not sure, how accurate this is, but, there's an article written about it. Go check it out. I'd be down for that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Finally, I read this on Heavy.com. The Knicks are betting favorites to land Russell Westbrook. This blew me by surprise because why? Is it because Russ doesn't have any more options? Listen, Russell Westbrook is a former MVP. Russell Westbrook, when it's all said and done, is going to go down as one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. That is indisputable. That is not what I'm arguing, but he's not the same Russell Westbrook. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence that we're finding a lot of people who are on the market who just cannot shoot the basketball with any type of consistency. We have moved into an era where you have to be able to shoot the three. You have to be able to spread the floor. You have to if you're going to get major minutes. He played well with Denver last year. He had an up and down playoffs. He turns the ball over a lot. He's kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type player. And to me, that kind of scares me. And again, we already have a player like Josh Hart who teams are going to drop back on, who are going to lag off of, and that causes us to change our defense. Having another player on the roster like that does not make sense to me. You could really only have one. If you have two getting major minutes in your rotation, that throws off your offense completely. You have to stagger them in a certain way. One of them is going to have to start, and I don't think the Knicks want to start Josh Hart this year, which means both of them are going to come off the bench. It just does not make any sense to me. I don't see the Knicks being interested in Russell Westbrook. I don't know where these betting odds are coming from. They're coming from Bodog, but I don't understand the handicappers and why they think Russell Westbrook is a favorite to go there. I think he's more likely to go to a situation where he knows he's going to get playing time. I know he wants to win a ring, but I could see him going to a playoff team or a team that's looking to get back into the playoffs, like the Sacramento Kings or something like that, where he knows he's going to get playing time, where he knows he's going to have a role, because I don't think he's going to have a role here in New York. I just don't think it's possible, really, with the roster construction that they have. You could say whatever you want about him as a player. This is me not dissing him as a player. It's me not understanding the fit for the Knicks in the same way I don't understand the fit with Ben Simmons. It's the same thing. Russ does a lot of things well still. He runs the ball. He passes. He's good. He's still a serviceable player off the bench. He did a lot of good things with Denver last year. But he's not somebody who's going to fit this team by any means, in my opinion at least. So let me know what you think. Those articles dropped today. Kind of surprised. It was a little bit of a slow week there. But let me know if you think you would want a Markelle Fultz, an Alec Burks. If you would like Russell Westbrook, would you take a flyer at any of these three guys? I would say I would like Alec out of everybody that was just mentioned. For me, I would want somebody who can shoot the three, who can play some defense, spread the floor, catch and shoot. We don't need anybody to do anything crazy. We don't need anybody's usage rate to go through the roof. We have players off the bench like Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson, who are going to be, high usage rate off the bench. We don't need that. Yabusele is another one who could score the basket. We don't need somebody who's going to take over the whole bench unit. We just need somebody who's going to be able to fit in if something goes wrong, who can hit the three and play some defense. Alec Burks is my nominee. That's somebody who I think, that's a prototype of what I think the Knicks should do for this offseason. But subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like the video. We'll be back Monday for an episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.